Hi, I'm Carlos Sainz. I'll take you on a lap for the Spanish Grand Prix. So there we go, we go on a lap on board for the Spanish Grand Prix. We arrived to turn 1, 320 kph. We downshift to 4th gear, we try and hit the inside curb, accelerating through turn 2 and 3, flat out this year, no problem. And we reach 280 kph before turn 4, and we carry as much minimum speed as possible. Important not to understeer too much into this apex. Open the radius of the corner and brake into the downhill turn 5. Easy to understeer also here. Use all the exit curb on the exit. And we go to turn 7, one of my favorite corners of the calendar, going up the hill. A very tricky one to get right. And then the famous turn 9. This year again is one of the first times that this corner is flat out. We go into a back straight, 300 kph, and we get into the last sector, very twisty sector, very difficult to get it right all the time. 11, 12, 12 is a very long corner where you simply have to nurse the rear. You start to feel that the tires are starting to go away, and you get into a final chicane where it's just important to finish the lap. Don't make any big mistake, get a good exit and go back into a start-finish line.
Formula One returns to its European heartland for round 5 of the World Championship. The circuit to Barcelona, Catalunya is a venue the teams know well. Pre-season testing takes place here in February, and based on those 8 days, it is Ferrari who should hold an advantage. But their lacklustre start has encouraged them to introduce a new engine 2 races early to bring the fight to Mercedes. The return to Europe has logistical benefits, with every team testing aerodynamic upgrades. The Scuderia sporting a revised engine cover and a new front wing with a reprofiled end plate. And Sebastian Vettel was pushing hard, and also lost some of his new bodywork.
Check on board. It looked like exit of turn 15. There was something coming off or flying off from the front left corner. So if you can have a look.
But Vettel and teammate Charles Leclerc were no match for World Championship leader Valtteri Bottas. He was on the limit too, going into the gravel at turn 12 before setting the fastest time of FP1, though the Finn infuriated Red Bull's Max Verstappen, who caught the Mercedes going unexpectedly slowly at the final chicane.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, understood, Max.
Verstappen's session was ended early due to an oil leak, with the Dutch driver only P12. The session ended badly for Racing Point's Lance Stroll. A touch of the grass at turn 9 saw the Canadian crash and take a taxi back to the pits. No such problems down at Haas, who were flying. Romain Grosjean surviving this trip into the gravel to set the 5th fastest time, with Kevin Magnussen in P7. But it was Bottas top of the leaderboard, ahead of the 2 Ferraris and his teammate Lewis Hamilton, with McLaren's Carlos Sainz a strong P6 at his home race, where he scored points in every year since making his debut in 2015 for Toro Rosso. No team needs a boost more than Williams, who are hoping upgrades can begin to turn their fortunes at the event they last tasted victory in 2012. But reigning F2 champion George Russell was still 0.3 slower than his nearest rival, Alfa Romeo's Kimi Raikkonen, having an unusually poor showing down in P18. Second practice in Barcelona, and for a second session in a row, Valtteri Bottas showed why he's nicknamed the Flying Finn. The current championship leader put in a lap of 1 minute 17.284 seconds to top the FP2 leaderboard. Sebastian Vettel scattered some stones around as Ferrari set the early pace. Both he and Scuderia Ferrari teammate Charles Leclerc topped the leaderboard at the half-hour mark. Defending world champion Lewis Hamilton took a few laps to get a handle on his car, running wide at turn 13 at 1 point. However, halfway through the session, the Briton put in the fastest lap thus far, only for Mercedes teammate Valtteri Bottas to better that moments later by more than 1/10 of a second, a time that wouldn't be beaten. Robert Kubica caught the curb going through the final corner, spinning his FW42 and finishing up in the pit lane entrance, the pole putting the blame on cold tyres. Both Alfa Romeos sought out the circuit margins, Antonio Giovinazzi scraping the curb at turn 9, and 2007 world champion Kimi Raikkonen shimmying into the shale approaching turn 8. Toro Rosso rookie Alex Albon survived a wobble, while teammate Danny Kvyat was another to find the gravel. Both Haas drivers had a decent day, with top half finishes in each session. Romain Grosjean survived an early scare, while Kevin Magnussen pushed some pebbles around and found the traffic a trifle infuriating. The team have flattered to deceive so far this season, showing good pace in practice and qualifying, but falling away on race day. So the leaderboard paints a familiar picture, a Mercedes 1-2 with Ferrari around a third of a second off the pace, Leclerc just ahead of Vettel. Max Verstappen, who finished first practice in P12 and suffered an oil leak, managed a respectable P5 this time round. His engine was switched to the Spec 2 between sessions. Red Bull teammate Pierre Gasly, P7 this afternoon, is due to switch his engine on Saturday. McLaren's Carlos Sainz enjoyed a top half finish at his home Grand Prix, outperforming rookie teammate Lando Norris. It's a familiar picture at the bottom two, with Williams propping it up again. Sergio Perez was almost half a second back from his Racing Point teammate Lance Stroll. Renault's upgrades don't seem to have helped their predicament. Both Daniel Ricciardo and Nico Hülkenberg more than a second and a half off the leader. Final practice ahead of the 2019 Spanish Grand Prix, and a final chance for teams to see if their Barcelona upgrades will pay qualifying dividends. Under cloudy skies and cooler conditions, Ferrari set the early pace. Charles Leclerc and four-time world champion Sebastian Vettel closely matched. Pushing hard on the soft compound, Vettel lost it coming into the chicane, spinning his SF90. But no damage was done. The current championship leader Valtteri Bottas wasn't so lucky. Losing the rear of his Mercedes going into turn 5, the flying Finn found himself sliding backwards into the gravel.
Stuck.
His rear wheels spinning helplessly in the stones, Bottas was unable to get back on track, and the session was red flagged to allow his car to be lifted to safety. The Finn opting for a scooter ride back to the garage. After the restart, defending champion Lewis Hamilton set a then fastest time on the medium compound, and later smashed that on the soft tyres for the first sub 1 minute 17 second lap of the weekend, around 4/10 off his own track record set last year.
Which areas can be improved?
Not many areas to improve, Lewis.
The Haas drivers continued their excellent weekend, Romain Grosjean just slightly ahead of Kevin Magnussen. Red Bull's Max Verstappen had changed his Honda engine to the Spec 2 for second practice, and that extra session seemed to be rewarding him, the Dutchman pushing his RB14 to the limit. Pierre Gasly's engine switch had been delayed until the Saturday, and it was more than halfway through the session before the Frenchman set a time. In the final minutes, the session was once again red flagged, as George Russell found the gravel at turn 4. Williams' woes continue. So Hamilton finished P1. His Mercedes teammate Bottas might well have challenged him, but for his excursion into the stones and some traffic problems late on. Leclerc and Vettel sandwiched the Finn, and those impressive laps from Haas see them P5 and P6. Toro Rosso's Alex Albon had a decent day, P8 for his efforts, and McLaren's Carlos Sainz slotted into P10. Renault still have work to do. Nico Hülkenberg, the best of the pair, some 8/10 quicker than Daniel Ricciardo. Around a tenth separates the Racing Point drivers, Sergio Perez in P13 and Lance Stroll in P15. McLaren rookie Lando Norris had a disappointing morning, nearly 2.5 seconds back from the leading time.
That is the Renault of Nico Hülkenberg.
Suspension damage too.
Underneath the car, Martin, to the left-hand side.
You can see the front left towing out.
Look at Nico, front wing's coming off.
He's limping home.
Yeah, so he's locked the right front. Now he's had to turn into a slide, and that horrible sick feeling. He might get away with the front suspension actually. So Hülkenberg there in a fairly rudimentary error actually.
George Russell with a spin there at the final chicane. Sorry to cut over you, Martin. And as Nico Hülkenberg is trying to limp back to the pits, Russell gets underway again. Kimi Räikkönen, currently only 18th, goes to 11th, pushes Ricciardo down. I said he might be at risk here. Lance Stroll can do something about it. Giovinazzi had a pretty horrific final sector by his standards and stays in that bottom 5. That might save Daniel Ricciardo. Carlos Sainz goes from 12th up to 7th. Lance Stroll next to cross the line. How's this time going to fare for him? Stays 15th and is knocked out in Q1 once again as Lando Norris goes 6th fastest with a super lap from himself, and Nico Hülkenberg
15th
just
creeping in.
So Nico Hülkenberg gets himself there. Sergio Perez gets himself there, and that pushes Hülkenberg back down. Alex Albon goes 9th, and George Russell, who'll get a 5-place grid penalty, stays 19th with Danny Kvyat out on the track, but he doesn't need to carry on pressing, although I'm sure he will. Stays in 11th. The two Williams, Kubica and Russell, out. Giovinazzi is out. Lance Stroll, again, knocked out in Q1. And Nico Hülkenberg, after his accident, also out as well. Lando Norris, 13th fastest. Can he get himself into the top 10? He does. 7th fastest for Lando Norris, but they're queuing up behind to try and take that place away. Kimi Räikkönen is out, doesn't make Q3, only 12th fastest for him. Albon does get into Q3, 8th fastest. Kevin Magnussen now goes 5th fastest. Another really good lap for the Haas, and we're on board with Carlos Sainz going very slowly. Carlos Sainz crosses the line, only 11th fastest in his home Grand Prix. Bottas has just set a new track record of a 1:15.9. Ricciardo gets into Q3, as he always has been here at Spain in the turbo hybrid era. Danny Kvyat goes 6th fastest, puts Lando Norris in the risky zone. Pierre Gasly goes 5th fastest, and a decent lap for him, and we're on board with Sergio Perez. Can he deny Lando Norris and get himself into the top 10? No, he stays 15th fastest. So all eyes now on Charles Leclerc, who's been dropping down the timings, but he's been putting in personal bests as the Ferrari, who's been on pole already this season, tries to get into Q3 and does. 4th fastest, Norris is out and into the bottom 5. Leclerc leaves it late, but showed the pace when he needed it. What happened to Carlos Sainz?
So he's missed the chicane. Driver error then.
Alexander Albon having his problems as well. This is through turn 5.
He got in there a little bit hot, ran wide, tried to recover some of the speed with getting on the throttle, a bit too jumpy on the throttle. Car wouldn't take it.
Disappointment then for McLaren. Carlos Sainz beaten by his teammate in qualifying here in Spain for the first time ever. But both McLarens are out. Perez and Räikkönen and Albon complete that bottom 5.
How's this going to look for Hamilton? Still hasn't broken out of the 16s. Bottas has got a great chance here.
2/10 up, Valtteri Bottas. Sebastian Vettel 8/100ths up as they approach the final sector, which has been Mercedes territory so far this weekend. Bottas has been on pole for the last 2 races in 2019. He's looking for a hat-trick here in Spain this afternoon. He comes across the line. Now does Valtteri Bottas.
Oh, wow.
And boy, is he in the 1:15s by a massive margin. Bottas on provisional pole. Nobody at the moment improving their lap times enough to challenge this man, Valtteri Bottas.
Including himself. It was such a magical lap in a 1:15.4. It looks like it'll be hard to beat.
And he hasn't beaten it, but he's still on provisional pole. Where's Sebastian Vettel at the end of that lap? He's still 3rd. Lewis Hamilton would love a 4th pole in a row here in Spain, but he doesn't do it. Valtteri Bottas on provisional pole unless Charles Leclerc can do something about it. We're on board now with Romain Grosjean, who's just ahead of his teammate Kevin Magnussen, and will stay that way because Magnussen's completed his lap, and now Grosjean comes in as well. We see Max Verstappen. Can he force himself up into a higher place ahead of Sebastian Vettel? No, he can't. Stays 4th. What about Charles Leclerc? Ferrari need him on the 2nd row at least, and they're not going to get it. Max Verstappen splits the 2 Ferraris here in Barcelona, and it is a hat-trick for Valtteri Bottas.
Yes! Yeah, guys.
A stunning lap time. on pole by over 0.6 of a second.
It's an important qualifying session. This pole has won 21 of the last 28 Spanish Grand Prix. The front row have won 25 of the last 28 Spanish Grand Prix. And Bottas is reborn in 2019. And it's lights out, away we go, and Hamilton gets a very good start. He's wheel to wheel with Bottas already. Behind them, Sebastian Vettel and Max Verstappen, and it's Hamilton and Bottas wheel to wheel, and now Vettel's joining in on the action as well. Into turn one we go, Vettel locks up, goes wide, Hamilton into the lead, Bottas gets through in second, Vettel is compromised by Charles Leclerc, Max Verstappen ahead of Leclerc, and now Pierre Gasly going wide through turn three, but out in front, Valtteri Bottas not getting the best start, Hamilton leading as down the inside goes Kevin Magnussen on Daniel Kvyat.
Yes, he locked his front brakes, didn't he, Vettel? He had such a good run through there. The two Ferraris nearly connected for good measure. Vettel didn't run too wide, so he was able to rejoin the track without going through the penalty zone there, and he got away with that, and somehow there was no contact.
Quite a bit of a flat spot front right.
That is not going to be very nice going down the straight. It'd be like riding along with a 50-pence piece as a tyre. And Sebastian Vettel just looking in his left wing mirror there to see where his teammate is. Now moves over towards the inside of the track, lets Charles Leclerc through on the racing line, and the two Ferraris do swap places. Leclerc is up in the fourth place. And the Alfa Romeo having a bit of a battle at the moment. Danny Kvyat there, who's trying desperately to find a way past Kimi Räikkönen, and is trying round the outside at turn four. You don't often get past there in Barcelona. Wow, nice move indeed. Meanwhile, confusion reigning at Ferrari, and still Seb's behind Charles.
Yeah, Leclerc spent the whole straight looking in his mirror, and there goes the switch.
Not where we were expecting it. Should have come maybe down the main straight, maybe should have come about 3-4 laps ago, but that sounds like a repeat of something we said about 20 laps ago. This is how Danny Kvyat got past Kevin Magnussen. Magnussen went to the right, and Kvyat reacted very well to go to the left there. That was another good move from Danny Kvyat. Lando Norris has gone off, Lance Stroll has gone off with him in the racing points, and I wonder if this means a safety car. Norris has managed to get back out on the track. There's a lot of gravel as he goes right across the track there.
I'm sorry guys, I'm out. Can you bring the car back? Can you bring the car back? No, I can't. I'm sorry guys.
We can see this incident once again. Norris on the inside catches that right-left wheel of the racing point. And yeah, to blame. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if the stewards have a look at this one, because he hadn't made the corner.
I'm going with a racing incident on that one.
Lewis Hamilton is now flying, trying to get the jump on the rest, as it's like the fastest, longest train you've ever seen going through that chicane. And Hamilton seems to have survived the restart, but look, Sebastian Vettel is now under pressure from Pierre Gasly, as I mentioned. Gasly's going wheel to wheel on the Charles Leclerc. Sebastian Vettel putting pressure on Max Verstappen. Magnussen on the inside of Grosjean as well. Leclerc ahead of Gasly. Grosjean goes wide in his battle there with Kevin Magnussen. Rejoins just in front of the McLaren of Carlos Sainz, but now Pierre Gasly's in trouble and Kevin Magnussen's alongside him on the run down towards turn 4. On the inside, Kevin Magnussen. Can he get past Gasly? Gasly's hanging on in there somehow. Now has the inside line into turn 5. One of the Toro Rossos, Kvyat, I think, into the gravel, but coming back out onto the track. And somehow they all emerged pretty unscathed there. Magnussen's defending thin air again. Grosjean knows he's going to do that. He's gone round the outside, and once again Romain Grosjean has to go to the escape road.
Round that bollard.
Goes round the bollard, rejoins in a safe place. As there goes Carlos Sainz on Romain Grosjean down into turn 1. Sainz is on the inside. Grosjean's been forced wide again. And this time around, can he come back out in front of Carlos Sainz? Yes, just. He's getting used to taking the long way round at the end of the main straight, Romain Grosjean. Right, I think we can watch Carlos Sainz again. It's not a replay. He's gone a different way this time around, and he's got Grosjean before the braking zone into turn 1, and Carlos Sainz is up into 8th place. And it's going to be Lewis Hamilton. It's going to see the checkered flag first and claim a hat-trick of Spanish Grand Prix wins. Lewis Hamilton wins the Spanish Grand Prix, and for the 5th time in a row, it's a Mercedes 1-2 as Valtteri Bottas comes home 2nd. Max Verstappen claims a podium, and Ferrari, with Vettel 4th and Leclerc 5th, are left wondering, what do they do and where do they go from here?
Get in there, Lewis. What a race drive that was. Awesome day in the seat there, mate. Fantastic start as well. So yeah, Mad Dog, great work.
Pierre Gasly will come home to take 6th place ahead of Kevin Magnussen, 7th for Haas. Carlos Sainz, another finish in his home Grand Prix in the points. 5 starts in Spain, 5 points finishes. Danny Kvyat 9th, and Romain Grosjean holds on to 10th place. The marshals bowing to Lewis Hamilton, the first man to take a hat-trick of Spanish Grand Prix wins since Michael Schumacher won 4 in a row from 2001 to 2004, and he picks up 26 points for his first fastest lap of the race this season as well.